Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimers Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimers Beer House.
Welcome to Strong Dads. Hey, this is Merrill Hutchinson being joined by the recovered, the stronger than ever, the man of the hour, Kyle Crawford. Kyle, welcome back to the studio.
Thanks for having me. COVID-free. It's the way to be. I think that's my motto for the day.
Yeah. Give me the gist here. I mean, you guys were shut down, quarantine. Was anybody really sick, or how'd that all roll with your family?
It's been difficult because I don't want to downplay COVID because it's out there, right? It's really affecting people.
No, we know people who have lost their life over it. So,
but for me and my household, it was a free vacation. We'll just say that.
So it was a vacation, but that means everybody was quarantined. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
So
Jenny, being the rule-abiding person that she is, told the school that I tested positive. So I went to work.
At least somebody's truthful in the house. Okay.
I know. So the girls had to stay home for 5 days, and we had to do the virtual school thing, which is not ever fun. Ever fun.
No.
And the girls get behind the screen. That's where they're doing everything virtually, and they're they get done with their schoolwork, and they have like different games they can go play. That are approved from the school. So they kind of liked it, I think. I mean, they definitely wanted to go back to school for sure. So and now they're back in school. So they went back on Friday of last week. So
yeah.
And Jenny was able to go to work. They have to wear the mask the whole time being in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
So, but for me, I was off for 2 days from work, so which is 48 hours for me. So it was a week. I had to be off for a week, and as long as I didn't have any symptoms, I was able to go back to work. So I went back on Monday. Yeah. So I was off from Tuesday to Monday.
Yeah. Well, it's a little different, too. When you're off, you say, you had this vacation. But, it's one thing if you're in the summer and there's nice and you can do things. But, man, you get a few rainy days and the kids are all trapped inside. That did not go well at our house at all.
I tried to check off the honey-do list. That's what I did.
Yeah. Everybody gets a little short with each other.
That they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So... Well,
before we go, Linda, thanks so much for taking my spot. I want to give Linda a shout out. If you didn't watch last week's show, Linda sat here and filled these shoes.
Did I tell you?
Amazing.
She and I got into an argument over that show.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So, Linda, if you didn't listen, you got to go listen to last week's show of Strong Dads. Linda and I did that show, and because Kyle said, hey, I got a quarantine, I've got COVID, so we were going to be talking about how to protect the marriage. And I said, hey, you know what? I mean, my wife and I do this for a living, right?
Yeah,
so
you even said it was like God divine. Like he made
like,
it happen he made me sick.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Lord. Nice. And so we brought Linda in, and, Linda and I have found this on more than one occasion. If we don't do a good job of kind of briefing beforehand, our brains go in different directions, and it's kind of like I said left, you said right, and we got 3/4 way through that show, and all of a sudden we kind of split in our head, and I'm looking at her like, where are you going with this? That's not what I had put together. And you can check out that show. There's kind of a hard edit at about 25 minutes where like we had to hit the break button and go, okay, wait, where are we going here? Where are we going? So welcome back, Kyle. I don't think you and I have ever had to do that.
We just put like a general script together. We just go with it, right?
We just flow, yeah. So that was funny. But anyway, Linda was a great sport, and
thanks,
we
Linda.
appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
She's a fine lady, so thank you, Linda. All right, so, this is our protection series here. We're wrapping up this week, but it actually... how this dovetails together is pretty amazing because our topic today is going to be talking about the protection of your health, but more specifically, I want to go down the road of protecting and understanding your mental health.
Yep.
Both Linda and I, but in particular, I have been, since the start of the year, okay, so here we are at the very end of January right now, since the start of the year, I have been just flooded with issues of mental illness walking in my office.
Yep.
Okay. Anxiety and depression are definitely the highest among those, but there's other things that come with it, with addiction and stuff like that. And I don't call that coincidental. Like, okay, there's stuff going on here. And I'm not talking about guys that you would think are wimpy or anything like that. I'm talking about men who are picking it up and putting it down every day. They're
Sure.
trying to get it done, and now they're sidelined.
Yep.
And their family's not working. They're not working well. So I just feel like because of what I do for a living, on my personal experience with it, we really owe a time here of having this conversation.
Yep.
So we're going to go down the road of mental health today.
And I, for you guys, don't tune us out here, because I think, honestly, this topic of mental health and addressing them, taking on head on, is something that men for a long time have not done very well.
Yeah.
I feel like, sometimes we do get caught up in the mindset that it's just, I don't want to come across as a big sissy that I'm dealing with things
Right.
in my head, right? So I think a lot of times guys try and, myself included, sometimes it's just like, I'm fine. I'll deal with this myself, right? And we don't seek out actual people who can really walk us through these things, and we don't think other guys are dealing with the same issues we are. So a lot of
Right.
times guys try and just take it on by themselves, and I think it's good to address and talk about that. There are the vast majority of guys are dealing with some sort of type of anxiety, some type of mental health issues that need to be addressed, and I think hopefully this show brings to light some of that stuff.
Yeah. We're going to get into all of that kind of stuff, because I think there's a reason why men don't take it on. They don't want to deal with it, or they ignore it, or they avoid it. And I think there's a big reason for that. And so we're going to try to get into that, maybe, and try to break it down a little bit to understand, like, well, why do men do that?
Sure.
And so anyway, let's thank our sponsors, and then let's get into this topic.
Love it. Strong Dads, we'd like to thank the Kramer's Beer House for coming alongside of us, located on Route 128. Go down there, let Mark know that we sent you down there. Check them out. Awesome meal, incredible setting. Thanks so much to Kramer's Beer House.
All right. Also want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for being a sponsor of Strong Dads. So Casey has been with us now for a couple of years, and he continues to be a provider and supporter of our work that we do here. So we want to thank Casey. So do us a favor and go down and thank Casey for his support of these messages, and check out what he's got going on there. I know it's not spring yet, but it will be. Someday it will be.
I think that last night our small group, one of the guys said it was like 54 days until springtime. And then the other guy's
Who's counting?
And then the other guy was like 321 days till Christmas. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Smack him. Yeah.
Well,
All
hey,
right.
Merrill, I got a question. So you were talking about guys coming into your office, dealing with the anxiety and mental health issues. You were saying that right now you're almost being flooded with them, right? Similar to what I was saying before, that seems like guys are kind of, have for the longest time have tried to take it on themselves. Is this a new thing that you're seeing, a large number of guys, or is this something that just coincidentally right now is kind of sprinkled in there?
So I do think what's happening, I don't think COVID is causing this, but here's how we hear about COVID in our office, okay? So, my marriage stinks, my job stinks, the kids are not behaving well, whatever, okay? And then there's COVID too. So in other words, we stack up stresses in life.
Sure.
And as long as I can juggle and keep things in the air, I find a way to kind of manage, all right? But when I've got some saturation point with the number of balls that I'm juggling, eventually things start to drop. And COVID is another significant ball that has been put in the juggle mix, okay? And I think that's what's bringing now, okay, it's finally the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's finally the guy is just, it's revealing more.
Sure.
Okay, that the guys break and stuff, or they're not where they want to be. Kyle, I think a big thing too, you and I were talking a little bit before we came on air, is how men self-monitor. I'll say, generally speaking, how men self-monitor, maybe more so than maybe women or even kids. Men do not always self-monitor well. meaning if something's not quite right, like they're not quite feeling right or their energy's not quite right, they dismiss it, or like, well, this too shall pass. Well, it's just a bad day. Well, and part of that's valuable, right? Like sometimes you just are in a bad day and you just have to compartmentalize and you have to go on.
Sure.
But if I don't revisit it and it keeps coming up, then it starts to grow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not able to say like, man, I'm just not thinking right, or I'm anxious, or I don't have any energy. And I start to live that kind of lifestyle. Now, if I keep denying it, here's where this comes into play. This is why we're doing this show. This is about your family, right? If you don't want it to be about you, okay, I get it. But this is about your family. As strong dads here, we are called to protect our family and our marriage, our wife, our kids. And so the thing that I have to help with, I almost always have the wife come in with my guys who are dealing with these issues, because these guys are kind of like, really, they diminish it, they dismiss it, and I have to have a reflection from her to help. She can monitor him better. Well, he used to be like this, but now in the last 8 months, he's been like this. She can help monitor. And so I think there are many of us men that don't do a good job of self-monitoring for whatever reason. Like, I don't want to be exposed. It's a sign of weakness, whatever it is, but we push it aside. Does that, so in the fire world, all right, as a fireman, and I look at your class of guys as, hey, they're out getting it done. They're the rough guys, right? What do you see with the men you work with?
Yeah, similar to exactly what you were talking about, that men are called to protect, right? And we're calling out, all men that we're here, we're trying to protect our family, right? And I think, in the first responder world, this is very, very evident that a lot of times guys get stuck in this protective mode, which is great because that's naturally what we're about. But the problem is we forget to protect ourselves, because it's very difficult to go out there. When your neighbor's house on fire and so is yours, and you go and try and put your neighbor's house out, well, maybe you should take care of your own house first, and then you can go protect, right? And so I think in the first responder world, because of just the very nature of the type of people that I work with that are in the world, I feel like we get stuck in this idea that we're there to help everyone else, and a lot of times we forget to help ourselves out. And this has been a big push. I know I've spoke about this before on the show. There's a big movement right now in the fire service dealing with the very issue of mental health in the fire service, and not necessarily to the extent or the degree of what military guys are dealing with PTSD, getting bullets shot at them, right? But we come in contact and we see the worst of the worst, right? We are getting called for gunshots, for traffic accidents, for kids that are dying, for people inside fires, that are burning alive, right? So we see the worst of the worst, and over a long period of time, a long time of getting exposed to things of that very nature, it wears and tears on you. So then, you start to try and suppress those, because I think naturally men want to try and, take care of it themselves, right? And so we just push those things down. And the problem is when we do that, we don't address that, and we don't have the ability to do a little bit of self-awareness and realize that it is truly affecting me. Then that's where the protection of our family, that's where we fail miserably at.
You and I have talked a lot about COVID, because working for a city municipality, you guys have to follow a lot of COVID protocols and stuff. And I mean, even though you can see, why some of those policies and stuff are in, I've always gotten the message from you that it's another added stress to everything you guys do. Everything you guys do now. So it's not only are we fighting the fire, but we're having to do all of these other protocols for COVID. And we're not even here to debate whether the protocols are right or wrong. That's not even our show, okay? Our deal here is like, it's another thing that we're trying to figure out and deal with, right? So,
well, I mean, with that, I mean, and I know that where I work, I mean, in the fire service world is no different than most other industries, whether it's the teachers, whatever industry you currently put yourself in. Man, right now, there's people that are off sick or calling off like crazy, right? I mean, I think we at one time, we're talking 12, 13, 14, 15 guys a day, and we have a 61-man roster for every day. So we're talking a large number of guys that are sick right now. And again, it's going to be no different than where you work at. So the added stress of having to work overtime, being away from your family.
We have seen that like crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, people, restaurants,
exactly.
hospitals,
Yes.
all police forces, all of them running short-staffed,
Yep.
compounding the stress of the people who are working.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is exactly what you're talking about, because then your normal day-to-day stressors that you have, and then you add on top of that the trying to find childcare because you have to go work
Right.
more hours, being away from your family for longer hours. My overtimes are an additional 12 hours, so I'm gone for 36 hours at a time. That's a long time to be away from my family. On top of the fact that when I'm at work, we're crazy, stupid busy, right? So then I'm away from my family for 36 hours, and I'm not in my house. All those added stressors that a large majority, the large reason is because of all the COVID stuff that's going on.
Right. And Kyle, I think we need to add on to this now the duration of COVID. If we, if I see a 3-month season of something,
yes,
I'm all about like strap up your boots there, buddy, and let's go. You got 3 months.
We've talked about seasons before.
Yeah, but now this season it's the fatigue season, right? Like now you're getting 2+ years, and these things continue to be. So again, bringing it back, like let's talk about prevalence of mental illness, how we can start to take care of ourselves, how we can help men and women or whoever would be listening to this show. Okay, so I think just like we talk about people get the cold, all right, people get the flu, people get COVID, 21% of our population at any one time is dealing with a level of mental illness. Okay,
and this is pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah, this is so 21%. Now, again, most of those are highly functional people still. That doesn't mean they don't have mental illness.
Sure.
I go to work with colds and stomach aches, so I can still be functional, but that doesn't mean I'm comfortable. It doesn't mean I'm at my best.
Right.
Right. In particular, I see when I deal with men, I would rather, and I'm speaking from the chair I sit in, I would rather work with somebody with anxiety than depression. And I say that because anxiety is so uncomfortable, right? Anxiety creates a response that makes you come out of your skin, right? Everything from I feel nauseous, like I'm going to get sick, to I can't focus on anything, I don't sleep, I'm miserable, I'm having panic attacks. You go through one panic attack, and I've shared my whole story on that here before, okay? You go through that panic attack, it's like a place I don't ever want to visit again. So it's a significant level of pain and discomfort that becomes a motivating factor for people to want to get help. That's huge, okay? And that's why I'd rather work with those people, because they feel like the house is on fire, I got to do something. So they're much more motivated. Typically, they're much more motivated to get something done. And they tend to follow our work protocols better, like when we're trying to help them, different strategies. Okay. Depression's tough, man. Depression's tough because all of us can live in a kind of low-level funk.
Sure.
Right? Like, I just don't have the energy, but, I'm just kind of muddling through it. I'm not having panic attacks, but I just don't see the purpose in a lot of things, but I'm able to kind of muddle through, okay? It's kind of like wearing wet clothes. You know how, like, it's not going to kill me, but these are really uncomfortable, okay? But people can do that for the longest time. How many times have you seen little kids wear their shoes backwards? right shoe on left foot.
Yep.
And you're like, do you like it? They're like, oh, well, whatever, I'm still doing it.
Yep.
And so depending on the level of depression, listen, there's levels of depression where people can't get out of bed, okay?
Sure.
But depression, people can muddle through it a little bit more, and they can hide it a little bit better. Anxiety, I just see it, and I'm just talking personally here how I actually see it. It screams a whole lot louder at people.
So do you, and maybe this is just me being naive or not, well-versed on this. To me, when I think of anxiety, I always say anxiety and depression. Is that something you see a lot of? both together, or because the way you
Yeah.
just explained it, it sounds like you can have anxiety and not be depressed, or you can be depressed and not have anxiety. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. So it goes to a little bit of our wire. We don't know exactly why people go to those different directions, but we know that we have a problem with neurotransmitter production and how it's being sustained in the synapse of the brain. And so by our wiring, some people have a tendency when they're stressed to go into anxiety. Okay, so we've talked about fight or flight. I actually talk about three things: fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, because freeze or do nothing is kind of that depression state. Okay. So I often try, when I'm trying to figure things out and I'm working with guys, I see that anger, okay, I will throw anxiety, depression, anger, right, shutting down, all of that. And that's a whole lot more based off of personality, okay? Like I'll have a guy who comes in with raging anger. People like he's yelling and screaming all the time. He loses his temper. That is in that same mix.
Gotcha.
Okay, there are stressors that are not handling well. They go to the fight mode, where another guy goes to the flight mode, right? The anxiety mode. Another guy goes to shutdown mode. He can't function, and that's that depression.
Do you see anxiety and or depression as can it be an acute thing? Can it be a short period of time, or is it traditionally a very chronic issue that guys are dealing with for a long period of time?
That's a great question. So in my work, and I'm not speaking now out of a textbook, okay?
Sure.
I'm talking about
which I think most guys don't relate well to textbooks. I mean, I know I don't. I want to know real world experience. What are guys actually dealing with versus what somebody wrote in a book?
Right. So, what you tend to see is I categorize these things in my work like, okay, I need to separate. So if I'm going to help you, I need to separate. Is this situational anxiety, depression? Or is it chronic? Okay, and so situational, I can attach it to typically like a type of event. Okay, so the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a bankruptcy, something like that. And I kind of have to then, that could be a week-long thing or that could be a 3-month thing, but we go through the grieving process or we go through the healing process. And again, I'm not even going to say how long that process takes, but it's that event that triggered it. And then we're working through that event. When we get that event kind of buckled up, so let's say you lost your house in a fire, okay? 6 months later, when your house is restored and everything's back, the depression lifts because you got life back in its flow. So that was a situational kind of event. The chronic things are you can have a situation that kind of triggers it, but it doesn't even take much of a situation. All right. And so a lot of times we try to like, well, it must be my job. And what we see is that a lot of times with those people, we can't even quite figure out what triggered it. That was my case. Okay. My anxiety, I couldn't even tell you what was triggering it. Like I would just be driving down the road with nothing on my mind. And all of a sudden I would feel the response of a panic attack. And within a minute, I'm off the side of the road and I'm trying to get help. Okay, where did that come from? And after dealing with that for 3+ years, I had to realize, okay, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that's I've come out on the air before many times. Like that's the mental illness. I could never attach it to something. All right, and I had to study that. I had to get help for that. And that's still part of my walk, right? But it's very treatable. I've been on treatment for 30 years now. I have played with that. Forever I was frustrated with I should be able to pray this away. I should be able to, I'm not ever dismissing the power of prayer. But when we have a mental illness, we treat it. If I fracture my leg, I can't pray my leg into healing. It's going to heal. I need to get it to heal properly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was that whole process that I had to walk through. And that's, long answer to your question. But I have to help figure that out. Like, is this a situational thing where your history and your pattern has always been solid? You've never had problems with depression. You've never had anger issues, whatever. But right now you're in a bad season.
Yeah.
Okay, let's figure out that season and see what we need to tweak. If it's like, I've really been struggling with these things for a long time. I've just never really isolated it. Okay, maybe we have a chronic condition.
Yep. I mean, those are good stuff, man. Let's move into, one thing we're big here at Strong Dads is we can sit around and talk about the problems and the problems in which we face, but if we just stay there, we're not becoming strong men, right? Mm-hmm. So let's move into what can we do? How do we begin to first off realize that we there are mental health problems in the male culture and in men. And then how do we fix that? Like, let's move into that. And I think a great place to start, you were talking about this, Merrill, about, if you have a fractured leg, like there's treatments you can do. Man, one of the things that's happening right now in the fire service, at least where I work, there's a lady that's actually going around and she is talking. Her husband is a former Covington fireman, and he actually killed himself. And she is making it her life's mission now to go around and speak to first responders and talking to them and bringing up this very idea of mental health. So I think it's the one thing that she said that kind of sticks in my mind. She says, in the fire service, if you were diagnosed with cancer, everybody around you, all the guys you work with, would be right there with you, right? Mm-hmm. They would be like, I'm all in. What do you need? What's your family need? What can I do for you? Can I pick you up to take you to treatment? So on and so forth. But when you move that into the mental health issues, a lot of times guys are much more standoff. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is I think a great place to start is to realize you're not alone, right? A lot of guys are dealing with this, and a lot of guys need to come alongside of you while you're dealing with this, because they may be dealing with the very same thing. So I think a great place to start is to realize that you're not alone in this, that a lot of guys are dealing with this. A lot of guys are having struggles. A lot of guys are dealing with anxiety, depression, as you're saying, seeing guys in your office. So I think a great place to start, but the problem is we can't stop there. We can't just say, we're all dealing with this, right? So we can just sit around and complain about it. No, the strength and the power in you're not alone is that other guys need to come along with you, and let's figure this out together.
Right. So, let's walk through then and help guys start to see that, okay? I sometimes when you think about things I can fix, certain things, like if I can see the mechanics of something, right? Like I just showed you one of my projects, I'm building a wall. It doesn't mean it's easy, right? But I can see the mechanics of how to do something, and I can see the step by step, and I'm able to grab my hands and put them around that project. When I can't see the workings, the mechanics of something, it becomes confusing, and I would rather just stay away. That's what mental illness is. If I have a fractured leg, I can see it. Yeah. All right. I can see it. I can see how the doctor's going to put it back in place. All right. And so the tangibility of that makes me go, oh, I can go there. All right. Sure. Mental illness is like looking at an electric circuit board. Like, I know that computer's working, but I have no clue how it's working. Yeah. Okay. And so the idea of me jumping in and fixing a computer, just cut my fingers off, because that's not going to go well, right? So it's that unknown, and that's what happens with how men see mental illness. It's kind of like the electric circuit board where they have no idea where to go. So our first thing that I really want to start to and just encourage men to do is start being aware. I used the phrase before, self-monitoring. Yeah. Okay? Just be aware of your trends. Be aware of the load of stress. I'm not telling you right now that you shouldn't have stresses. I mean, as men, as women, all of us, we have stresses. I'm asking you to be aware, okay? There's a difference of driving on an old country road where you're the only car versus in a city traffic jam. Yep. I need to be aware of my surroundings, of what I'm walking through in life at that moment, okay? Yep. So my first thing is just back up for a second and look at where your life is, all right? Are you changing jobs? Do you have kids? Are you under financial stresses? Be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things with that being aware, I think is really important, is to allow people in your life to speak into that very idea. That not only should you be aware of first off, the idea that mental health is a real thing and real guys are dealing with it, right? So we're aware of that issue and being aware of those stressors. But I think bringing along your spouse, bringing along a group of other guys with you in that, because man, if you try and do this by yourself, you can be aware of what you're dealing with all day long. And sometimes we put up our own blinders and we don't even allow ourselves to not, we may know that there's stressors out there that trigger us, but when those stressors happen, we just put up blinders and just,
Right.
I'll take care of this myself. Right. So I think part of the being aware is bringing alongside your spouse, bringing alongside your friends with you in this challenge, right? So when those people do speak into you and do say, hey, I'm starting to see some patterns, some things that are going on in your life, man, you one of the big things, you have to listen, right? It's one thing if you just hear it, but we actually have to listen to what our loved ones, our friends and family are saying to us about, hey, something's not right here. You're acting a certain way. And, that we can't just continue to dismiss that and just say, oh, whatever, I'm having a bad day, which again, we all have bad days. But when that trend, those patterns that come up and it's being brought to your attention, man, you have to take steps. You have to take actions to address those very issues.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they're called family, right? They're in your inner circle.
Yep.
So you have to allow them to weigh in on that. And I would also then, I don't take that lightly. Like, we have to be careful at how we weigh in to people in our family when they're struggling. If I'm always sarcastic or I'm always, a smart aleck and I'm always saying stuff like, dude, you're a nutcase or whatever, you start to lose credibility to when you actually do see something that you feel like you want to, help that person with. So as a family member, I have to be a little bit careful, especially I see this with our kids. Like, as a dad, I kind of have to be careful with how I speak to my kids, because you mentioned a word that I want to make sure that all you guys out there hear. I have to observe patterns, okay? Patterns of behavior are what when you're talking about being self-aware, that's what I'm looking for. I want my spouse to observe patterns. I will observe patterns with my spouse. If one day you come in here, Kyle, and you tell me, man, I lost it at work today. Oh, man, I got so mad. I threw a hose I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. If I'm hearing that same type of story multiple times in a relatively short duration, I got a different radar going off in my head. I'm like, dude, like, in the last 2 months, you've told me 5 times that you've lost it at work.
Yeah.
This is a pattern, and I have a responsibility, and you personally have a responsibility to go, oh, I've got to figure this out. What's going on? All right. So patterns are important. Whether I'm seeing a pattern of depression, I see this, men calling off from work. You know what? In the last 6 months, you've called off 8 times. You didn't show up for work. That's a pattern, dude. That's a pattern. And if you're the wife of a man who's doing that, you need to be able to call that out. You have to call it out appropriately. If you yell it and scream it, you're probably going to shut them down more. If you're like, hey, I'm kind of concerned. Like, this was never your behavior before, and now I'm seeing you calling off and missing work. Okay? So shutting down, avoiding situations like, I don't want to go to the party anymore. I don't want to go to church. Withdrawing. Oh, this is a pattern. Okay. That was my pattern, by the way. Avoidance. That was my pattern. I got to a point where after 6 months, I didn't really want to go anywhere. All right. And I have a wife who wants to go everywhere. Okay. Sure. And so she was noticing, like, what's going on here? Right. And I was, I'm just fine here. And I'd make up, like, I'm going to work on this project. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And the reality of it was I just couldn't handle being out in people. So patterns.
With this idea of the patterns and your family speaking into you, man, I think as a man, as a strong dad, it is your responsibility to give permission to your wife, to your friends, to speak into you. This is something, as I spoke, the Covington fireman, his wife has made it her mission. She came and spoke to our entire department about this very issue of mental health. And I felt it was my responsibility to go home and to talk to Jenny about this and tell her that this is a real thing going on in the first responder world, and that I need to give her permission that if she sees something. I did the same thing with my small group. I told those guys, hey, this is something that is very, very prevalent. This is going on in the fire service, in the first responder world. I need you guys to speak truth to me if and when you see these very issues. So I think it's one thing to be aware of the issues, to look for your own patterns going on, But man, if similar to what you're saying, you know, if you're a spouse and you see those things and you just begin to go about it in the incorrect way, I think as a man, it is our responsibility to give permission to our spouse to be able to say the hard things, to say the things that are not comfortable to speak to, you know. And again, it's obviously, you know, how you say. Hopefully, you know your spouse well enough to know the way in which to, you know, address those issues. But man, I think it is our responsibility as men to know that this is a real thing, and we need to truly give permission to our loved ones to speak in. Because my friends in my life, the people that I entrust and I do life with, they know that they have my permission to speak in. But if I never give them, and it's not necessarily you have to, you know, verbalize, hey, I'm giving you permission. But man, when you do life with other people, when you're sharing life, they know. My best friends in this world know that they can speak a little bit more harsh, where some of my other friends, I know we have to do a little bit different. Right. And I think that's just knowing your audience, knowing the people that you're speaking to. But I think it's really important to give permission to people to speak into you. Yeah,
the inner circle. Yeah. So another area, Kyle, like once I start to get into this, I've got to check off the boxes of some simple things. They seem to be simple, but the reality of it is they're not. Some self-care, okay? So self-care are really some basic fundamentals. This helps me determine whether I'm dealing with just a situational thing or whether I've got a more chronic thing. Self-care, are you getting the sleep you need? All right, we know 7 to 9 hours. All right, I just shoot for the 8-hour mark. I've got to have that. That's actually when the healing takes place. If I have a bad situation, if I suffered a loss or something, healing takes place during the sleep patterns more so than in the awake patterns. And so self-care, are you sleeping? Okay. Are you eating properly? So throwing in junk, like a lot of sugar. I'm a sugar freak. We also know that a lot of people with anxiety and depression crave carbohydrates. All right. So, okay, you think that's just random? I don't think so. Your body's craving the relaxation from serotonin, and sugar does that, but it also then throws you into a funk because it messes with the rest of your body chemistry, with blood sugar levels increasing and decreasing and surging. So sugar cravings, carbohydrate cravings are things, I need to keep those in check, okay? Exercise patterns. Exercise helps to rewrite the ship on body chemistry. So I've shared with many times, like if I'm in a funk, I need to just go for a workout, and it helps to reset myself, okay? So these self-care things, relaxation, family time, prayer time, church time, these are all self-care things. And so when I'm in a more stressful time, like this COVID and that, I need to be even more vigilant about making sure I'm taking care of myself, all right? Sometimes you can cheat, right? But if you're cheating all the time, you're going to pay for that. Yep. Alcohol and drug use. We use those like we use sugar, all right? But it creates that better feeling, maybe I shouldn't even say feel good, that better feeling to mask what we were feeling. When I was going through a lot of anxiety early on, alcohol at least allowed me to chill out a little bit and at least get back in my skin, okay? And so you start making those connections. So self-care is huge.
Yep. And with that self-care, man, when's the last time, and I'm going to lump myself into this, when's the last time you didn't have this in your face, your phone?
That's a big one, yeah.
Your phone. And this is something I know for the work that I do, my first 20 minutes of driving home, I'm in complete silence. It's just something I know that I need to do. I got to do a little decompression. When's the last time this wasn't the focal point of everything going in your life? Because you can see all the problems in the world going on right here in this phone, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important because when we get so attached to this, we lose sight of then not only is this your main focus, but then when your wife may be speaking into you, all you're worried about is this. And again, I'm lumping myself. You get so attached to this, right? We're 2022 here. This is like that, and now more than ever with the virtual. Everyone's going virtual and doing the Zoom calls. Man, this generation that we are raising, our kids are going to be so attached to this thing as if they're not already, right? They're going to be so attached to the screens, and again, ourselves included, we're losing sight of those self-care, the things that we need to do that we can just watch a workout video, right? And think that's getting
we
us
got the workout in.
Yeah. and so I think just taking some time to get away from all the noise, everything that's going on in this world. There's so much distraction, so much noise that is out there that is right here at the at the end of your fingers. You can touch all the noise that you want right here. And I think one of those self-care, I think, is getting away from this, at least for a brief time every single day.
Or putting boundaries on it, parameters of like, the time of day or only what I will use it for, those kind of things. It's such a great tool. So it's kind of like, okay, I get it. The idea of me saying those are going to go away is probably not going to happen. Kyle, you bring up a very interesting point. So one common thing that I often hear out of my guys who come in with significant depression, I see this more with depression than I do anxiety. I'm not saying it doesn't happen with anxiety. They become phone starers, okay? In other words, they're sitting at home doing a whole lot of nothing, and they're just going through like YouTube videos. They're not even like hyper focused on it, but it's just enough to create a little bit of passive entertainment, and they can just get into a dead stare. And the next thing you know, they've dropped an hour and a half out of just doing stupid YouTube videos that really have no relevance to their life, but it pacified them. It allowed time to go. So anyway, that's a great point with the phone. Let's wrap up, okay? Yep. Here's the bottom line. You've gone through some of the different things that we've talked about, okay? Being aware, self-monitoring, taking care of yourself. Seeking help is what I want to encourage. I'm not even going to say exactly who the help needs to be. It could be your buddy, right? It could be your best friend. It could be your wife. The idea that you open the door up to somebody else to help them in, to help carry that load, is the first part of getting help. And so seeking help, listen, remember what our goal is? Our goal is to be a strong dad. If I can't be the dad and husband I want to be, then I need to get some of that help. And so I want to encourage, get some help, all right? In my case, I had to go to a doctor, all right? If that's what it means, then go to a doctor. If you need to go to a counselor, at Rock Solid Families, this is what comes in our door, all right? I want to encourage you, even if you just came in and said, I just want to talk. Can I just lay this out and just let's go back and forth and get some perspective? Come on in, all right? Let's figure that out, because once you open the door to help, you see that this is a very, I won't say easy, it is very accessible to help, okay? There's a lot of help out there, but you do have to walk through the door.
Yep. I love it. Yeah, I think that there's so much there. Just let's instead of just continuing to put Band-Aids over our problems, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's expose those problems, actually going out there and getting the help that we need as men, because, similar to what we've been talking about this whole time, it's going to be very difficult to be a great husband, very difficult to be a good dad, unless you yourself have protected yourself from mental health stuff, because it's there. It's there, so it's about time we start addressing it.
Good deal. So hopefully you found the show to be helpful. Mental illness is real. We want all of our guys on the front lines doing life with their family and their coworkers. And if something's taking you off of the front lines, then let's get some help. You're made for a purpose, with a purpose. And so let's get you out there and get it done. So if I can help you with any kind of coaching or counseling, please reach out at rocksolidfamilies.org. You can email me directly at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org. Kyle, you still don't have an email address, so yeah. So feel free, reach out. Do not let yourself get stuck in this muck, because I hear this a lot, like, I don't want to be on medicine because I'm concerned about the side effects. Let me remind you, there are side effects, significant side effects of not dealing with your illness, and in this case, your mental illness. Not dealing with it, you will see years of wreckage and damage done to your life and the people in you. So don't discredit the magnitude of that side effect.
Yep. I like maybe if I called you Hun like Linda does. Maybe
Hun,
you get Hun. She calls you Hun a lot. Maybe I'll call you Hun, and then I'll get an email.
We got called out on that once.
Really?
Yeah, for her calling me Hun. somebody shot us a message and said, "You call him Hun too much."
Well, I saw you reciprocated a couple times. You called her.
Hey,
I like
that's what we do. You know, I mean, there's a lot of other names she could call me, so I'm good enough with Hun right now.
I like it. Yeah. So
Go,
thanks,
Hun. Close us out, Hun.
Thanks so much for Kramer's Beer House, Casey's Outdoor Solution. Really do appreciate them for coming alongside of us. Share the heck out of this show, man. If you guys know someone out there who is dealing with this, who you're able to speak truth into them, man, share the heck out of this show. We'd love to come alongside and hopefully, be of some support and some help in that. So really appreciate you guys. Go out there and be some strong dads.
Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.